Here's something nobody tells you when your LDL comes back high. You can eat well, you can walk, you can try, and that number still won't move. And then a doctor says the word statin, and suddenly you feel like you've lost control of your own body. So people start searching. Is there something natural, something real, something that actually works without a prescription? And here's the honest answer. Yes, one thing genuinely deserves your attention. Not because it's magic, not because it replaces medical care, but because the biology is real, the research is real, and most people are using it completely wrong. I'm talking about flaxseed. Stay with me. Let's get into it. When I think about cholesterol, I don't go looking for one heroic ingredient. That mindset gets people into trouble. I look for leverage, small daily things that nudge the body in the right direction over and over until the numbers finally shift. Flaxseed is interesting because it works through more than one pathway at the same time. It contains soluble gel-forming fiber, plant compounds called lignans, and alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fat. Now, most people hear omega-3 and immediately think of fish oil, but alpha-linolenic acid from flaxseed behaves differently. It is not as potent as the marine omega-3s EPA and DHA, but it contributes to the overall anti-inflammatory picture in the body. And inflammation and cholesterol problems very often travel together, so that still matters. Here's how to picture the fiber mechanism. Imagine your digestive system like a kitchen sink with greasy water flowing through it. Soluble fiber acts like a sponge and a trap combined. It thickens the mixture in the gut, grabs onto bile acids your liver made from cholesterol, and helps carry them out instead of letting them recycle back in. Now your liver has to pull more cholesterol out of circulation to make fresh bile. Repeat that process daily, over weeks and months, and it starts to add up. That's the core mechanism. Simple? Yes. Silly? Absolutely not. Because here's what matters most. The mechanism matches the human data, and that's exactly what you want to see. A 2021 meta-analysis pooled 14 randomized controlled trials and found flaxseed improved total cholesterol, LDL, and triglycerides in people with dyslipidemia. An earlier meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found significant reductions in total and LDL cholesterol, especially in people who started with higher levels and in postmenopausal women. That's remarkable for a food, not a drug, a food. Now, I'm not going to overstate this. The effect is nowhere near as powerful or predictable as a strong statin in someone at high cardiovascular risk. But it is real, it is consistent, and it is meaningful enough to take seriously. So what do you do tomorrow? 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed daily, not whole seeds. Stirred into plain yogurt, oats, or a smoothie. Ground matters, and I'll tell you exactly why, right now. Here's a pattern I've noticed over the years. People love the idea of a healthy food more than the boring routine of actually using it correctly. They buy a bag of whole flaxseed, sprinkle half a teaspoon on something twice a week, and then tell me it did nothing. Of course it did nothing. That's like throwing tea leaves into cold water and expecting a strong brew. The seed coat is tough. Whole flax often passes through digestion surprisingly intact, meaning the fiber and lignans inside never actually get released into your gut where they can do their job. You are essentially decorating your food, not improving your health. Ground flax exposes the fiber and lignans so your body can actually interact with them. This isn't a small difference. It is the difference between a food that works and one that doesn't. In a randomized crossover study published in Nutrition and Metabolism, researchers compared different forms of flaxseed. The flax drink lowered fasting total cholesterol by 12% and LDL by 15% compared to the control group. Flax bread still worked, but less dramatically. The food matrix matters. Viscosity matters. The gel-forming effect matters. People hear flaxseed and assume all versions are interchangeable. They are not. So here's the practical version. Buy ground flaxseed, or buy whole seeds and grind a few days worth yourself in a small coffee or spice grinder. Keep it sealed in the fridge because the healthy fats in flaxseed can oxidize when exposed to heat, light, and air over time. Rancid flaxseed is not doing you any favors. Add it to food you already eat. Don't build a complicated ritual you'll abandon by Thursday. Consistency beats enthusiasm, every single time. And flaxseed oil? Fair question. Flax oil gives you the fat, but not the fiber that does most of the cholesterol lifting. That's why ground seed tends to outperform oil specifically for LDL reduction. If cholesterol is the target, ground seed is always the smarter choice. Now here's something that should actually change how you think about this. If a food supposedly works the same way for every single person, I get suspicious. Human biology doesn't behave that neatly. Flaxseed works best in people who have room for improvement. If your LDL is already excellent and your diet is already solid, the drop may be modest. If your cholesterol is elevated to begin with, you will likely see more movement. That pattern showed up clearly in the meta-analyses. If the liver is already juggling excess cholesterol traffic, changing bile acid recycling makes a bigger difference. It's like easing congestion on a busy motorway versus an empty country road. The same intervention, very different outcomes depending on starting conditions. Something else that genuinely surprised me, the strongest effects in several analyses showed up in women, particularly postmenopausal women. A randomized trial in the Journal of Women's Health found 30 grams of flaxseed daily for 3 months lowered total and LDL cholesterol in postmenopausal women with elevated levels. Researchers have suggested that lignans, which carry weak estrogen-like activity, may play a role here, interacting with the hormonal shifts that often move cholesterol in the wrong direction after menopause. Not magic, but not trivial either. So what do you do with that if you're at home, not in a research study, just trying to protect your heart? You use it as a realistic tool. Not a fantasy, give it 8 to 12 weeks, use a consistent daily dose, then recheck your lipids with an actual blood test. Not with wishful thinking, not with how energetic you felt after a good morning. One of the most mature things you can do for your health is measure what actually happened instead of assuming. And here's the question I know is sitting in the back of your mind right now. Does this mean you can forget statins? No, absolutely not. If you already have cardiovascular disease, diabetes with elevated risk, familial hypercholesterolemia, or a very high LDL, stopping a prescribed statin because you started eating flaxseed would be a serious mistake. I want to be very direct about that. NHS guidance notes that most people need to continue statins long term because cholesterol rises again when they stop. The American Heart Association is clear that some people need both lifestyle changes and medication to reach healthier cholesterol levels. These are not opinions. These are positions built on decades of outcome data: heart attacks prevented, strokes avoided, lives genuinely extended. A statin sends a very direct molecular message to your liver: produce less cholesterol. Flaxseed is more like changing the background conditions in the room, less direct, slower, but still meaningful over time. The two are not competing. They can coexist and complement each other beautifully. That's the adult answer, even if it's less exciting. The right question is never statin or flaxseed. The right question is, how do I lower my risk as effectively as possible with the best combination of strategies available to me? That might include a statin and flaxseed and better sleep and more movement. The body doesn't care whether improvement comes from one perfect intervention or 5 decent ones working together. What matters is where you end up, not which lane you took to get there. This more balanced view actually gives you more control, not less. You don't have to choose a camp. You can choose results. Here's something else flaxseed does that people completely overlook. The same gel-forming fiber that affects bile acids also slows digestion slightly and makes meals more filling. That matters more than it sounds. When breakfast is genuinely satisfying, lunch is calmer. When lunch is calmer, dinner is more sensible. The effect compounds quietly across the entire day, not because the seed is magical, but because your eating pattern improves without you forcing it. In a study involving people with type 2 diabetes, daily flaxseed supplementation for 3 months improved LDL cholesterol while fitting seamlessly into ordinary meals. No special diet required, no dramatic lifestyle overhaul, just a consistent addition to food that already existed in someone's life. The best intervention is rarely the flashiest one. It's the one you can still do on a random Tuesday when life is messy and motivation is nowhere to be found. If I were building a simple cholesterol-friendly breakfast for someone starting tomorrow, it would look like this: plain Greek yogurt or unsweetened oats, a small handful of berries, 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and a few walnuts. That single meal tackles fiber, satiety, blood sugar stability, and diet quality all in one go. Simple, repeatable, effective. That's the standard I try to hold every recommendation to. Biology isn't just chemistry, it's behavior meeting chemistry. Now, side effects. Because any food potent enough to affect cholesterol deserves a bit of respect. Add too much too fast and you may experience bloating, cramping, or a significant change in bowel habits. Not dangerous for most people, but unpleasant enough that people quit before anything has time to work. And that's a shame, because the problem was the approach, not the food. Ramp up gently. Start with 1 teaspoon daily for several days. Move to 1 tablespoon, then 2 if you tolerate it well. Drink enough water throughout the day. Fiber without adequate fluid is a genuinely bad deal for your gut. If you take medications, don't take flaxseed at the exact same time. Because it's rich in fiber, it can slow the absorption of medicines taken simultaneously. Space things out by 30 to 60 minutes. And if you have a bowel narrowing condition or a serious gastrointestinal problem, speak to your own doctor before making any changes. Sensible caution isn't fear, it's just good medicine. One more thing, watch out for packaged foods with the word flax on the front label. Many of them, biscuits, bars, cereals, carry a health halo while delivering trace amounts of flaxseed wrapped in sugar and refined starch. Those tiny amounts don't count for much. Buy a plain bag of ground flaxseed and control the dose yourself. 1 tablespoon means 1 tablespoon. No guessing, no marketing theater. Now, patience. Because this is where most people give up before results have a chance to appear. Natural strategies get abandoned because people want pharmaceutical speed from nutritional tools. That is simply not how this works. Think in months, not days. Give the body time to respond to consistently changed conditions. Give the habit time to become automatic. Give the numbers time to tell the truth. Don't cherry pick one morning when you felt good and decide your arteries are grateful. Measure, reassess, adjust, and pair flaxseed with one other repeatable move. Swap butter for olive oil. Walk after dinner 3 nights a week. Eat beans twice this week. Pick one thing. Stack it with the flaxseed habit. Small stacks, done consistently, beat dramatic overhauls that collapse under real-life pressure. Cholesterol management works more like traffic flow across an entire city than a single road. Saturated fat intake, body weight, exercise, sleep, insulin resistance, genetics, thyroid status, menopause. Alcohol, smoking. All of it feeds in. The boring, consistent advice survives decade after decade because, simply put, it works. Don't ask a seed to rescue a lifestyle that is pulling hard in the opposite direction. So where do I land? For some people, the question of forgetting statins shouldn't even be on the table. If one has been prescribed because your risk is clearly high, don't stop it based on a YouTube video. Don't let a headline make a medical decision for you. But if you're looking for a natural, evidence-based way to genuinely help lower LDL cholesterol, ground flaxseed absolutely earns a place in the conversation. It is ancient, cheap, widely available, and biologically solid. The evidence isn't perfect, but it is good enough to take seriously and act on starting this week. Use the right form, use it consistently, track your numbers over time, and build it into a bigger pattern that your heart will actually benefit from. Not just in the weeks when you're feeling motivated, but in the ordinary weeks too. You don't need to chase miracles. You need a plan you can live with on the good days and the difficult ones. If this helped, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who keeps being told to watch their cholesterol, but never actually gets told what that means in practice. Take care.